Alrighty everyone, welcome back to the long-awaited part 4 of how to turbo your S10 2.2. Now this video is going to be a little bit different than the previous two. Technically there's 3, but don't waste your time on part 1. I was under contract to have to do an unboxing for the turbo, blah blah blah. Part 2 and part 3 is what you want to watch. This is part 4 of how to turbo your 2.2 liter S10. Now, in case you didn't pick it up from the opening of this video, this may look like a 1969 Chevy Corvair, and it is. However, it is on a S10 frame, a 1996 Chevy S10 frame, 2.2, 5-speed, short box, regular cab. I put the Corvair on the frame. Mechanically speaking, it is a 1996 Chevy S10 pickup truck. I just put the Corvair body on it because I could. If you want to see that full build, it's somewhere on the screen is the full build to this. Anyway, it's been a while since I last made a video on this, on the turbo portion. Just because I've been busy, this summer was really busy. This is also my only daily driver, so it's really hard to make a video on a car and also work on the car when this is my only car that runs and drives. I've since bought another car, but that's besides the point. I am going to try to make this video short, you know, but it's probably going to end up being pretty long. I know with today's generation and just people in general, they have a shorter attention span, but I really insist you watch the whole thing, because I just go over a lot of information really quickly. So, to start off, I have not done any tuning to this S10, because from 95 on down was OBD1, and there wasn't really a computer. There was, but it was really easy to trick. And then 98 on up has like full aftermarket tuning. You can tune these with the stock ECU. There's a lot you can really do. There's also a lot more plug-and-play options. But the 96 and 97, some of the 97, but mainly the 96 and 97, like what I have here, you can't really tune them. And they don't really have any plug-and-play options. And if I would have known that, I would have gone with a 2000... I would have gone with like a 2000 on up, because that would have given me more options to tune it. And actually the 2.2s in the near the end of the S10 run made like 190 horsepower stock, which is awesome. So yeah, so I didn't really tune this, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to, so I thought I can just trick it. If I'm going to be adding more air, I just need to add more fuel. And believe it or not, that actually works. Not very well though. I would say that this car is, when it's running, it's what I would consider best, is really only at about 80% efficiency. Because it's a truck engine, and it's a 2.2 from an S10, and I can't tune it. So, there was a few things that I've learned. So when I first turboed it, and everything was going good, I was driving it, this was actually right about this time last year that I turboed it. Everything was great, like it was running great, not a care in the world. And then eventually, as the computer kind of learned that there was more air coming in, it started to do some weird compensation where it would give me too much fuel or not enough fuel, and it couldn't keep up, and I couldn't figure out why, because I didn't tune it. And so doing some research and talking to some other people that have turboed their S10s, I talked to this one guy who said, this is what you're going to want to do. There is 3 wires that go into the coolant temperature sensor. And he said his wire was purple, but on the 96 it's yellow. And if you cut that yellow wire, it defaults the ECU into thinking that it's negative 40 degrees outside, and it just dumps fuel down the cylinders. And so what you can do is you can get something called a potentiometer, and that allows you to adjust voltage. And actually what a lot of people use them for is like a volume knob. Your volume knob is basically a potentiometer, like on a guitar or something, right? So you have 3 wires. One will be ground, one will be input, and one will be output. So you ground it, of course. Then you take that yellow wire that you cut and you solder on some longer wires and solder that up to the potentiometer. And when it's shut off, there's no resistance. Your computer, your ECU, thinks it's whatever temperature it is. But you can then adjust it into thinking it's a little colder out, maybe like 40 degrees Fahrenheit out. And it will then compensate, and it will add more fuel to your cylinders. It's a really genius way to do that, to give yourself more fuel. And so that's what I did. And I have some footage, and I might put it up on the screen, just kind of showing how I did it. I filmed a lot of this a while ago, and I haven't been able to actually do anything with the footage. So here's some of the footage, or here's not. I don't know. I'll decide when I edit it. So when I installed that, everything was going awesome. I took it for a drive, and I was like, oh my gosh, because it was running really lean. On my AFR gauge, it was reading 14, 15 to 1, which is really rich. You don't want that. And so I installed the potentiometer, and I was able to adjust it, and I was able to bring it down to like, I think 11 to 1 or 12 to 1, and you really want to run it at like 12.5 to 1. But I took it for a drive on a cold, rainy day, and oh my god, it was amazing. It ran perfectly. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I fixed my problem. So that was the potentiometer. And now I'm going to go to the next problem, but we are going to circle back to the potentiometer. I'm going in chronological order. So after driving it for a few days, I still noticed that it was running really lean, and it was like sputtering a lot, and it was just like, I would get into boosts and just go, you know, that's my bad example of it sputtering. And what had happened was my plugs were really bad. And so I was talking to a friend, and I was like, I can't figure out why this is doing this. And he said, did you check your plugs? Well, no, of course not. Of course, why would I check my plugs? So I checked my plugs. Sure enough, they were gapped horrendously. They were gapped, not even intentionally gapped, they just over time had worn away. They were gapped to 0.075, which is a massive gap. That's huge. So I got brand new plugs. They are NGK TR6. Those are cold plugs. And I was going to go with a TR5, which is a cold plug, but another friend said, you want the colder the better. You really want to keep that cold, you know? So I went with TR6s, gapped to 0.035, which is really where you want to run when you're running low boost. I put those in, a night and day difference. This thing became a monster. I could just, through the gears, wide open throttle, making all the boost. This thing was amazing with new plugs. I cannot explain it. I think I have some of the footage once I finally figured it out and put in the new plugs. If I sound like an idiot screaming in excitement, it's because I was very excited that this piece of crap actually worked.
Alright, we are cruising. It could totally be a placebo effect, but it sounds to be running smoother. However, I can understand how it wouldn't be a placebo effect. The AFR gauge is looking good. Oh my god. Holy crap! Wow, that like... Dude, there's no spinning or anything!
Here is the box that the plug came in. You can see it's NGK, and they are a TR6. Yeah, these are the plugs that I got. I thought I had one of the plugs left over so I could show it off and be like, yeah, this is how badly gapped it was, but I don't know where I put the plug. I found the plug. Here it is. You can just see how dirty it was, and then look at the gap on that. I have my gap reader here. Yeah, right about 0.075. I don't know if that's going to focus, but That's how gapped it was, and it needs to be all the way down here to 0.035. So the plugs made a huge difference. Everything's going fine. I'm driving it to work every day, driving it to friends, racing people in the intersection, losing because I'm running really low boost. And it's just like, everything's perfect. And while I got it running perfect, I was like, wait a second, why don't I just keep the 2.2? Don't put in the supercharged 3800. That's happening, by the way. You know? And I was like, let's just keep this. This is running in perfect condition. I'll just keep this. And so that's what I was going to do. And then a few weeks later, all of a sudden, my gauge would just start reading extremely rich, very rich. And I didn't know why. I was like, the potentiometer is shut off. And when I was driving it and getting on it, I would kind of turn the potentiometer on a little bit to kind of give it a little more gas, right? But I noticed that it was just running really rich, like 9-to-1, which is really rich. And like, I was talking to a friend and he said that he runs his, at the time, Subaru, I want to say like 10-to-1, but he's pushing 25 pounds of boost. I'm pushing maybe 5 pounds of boost, you know? So I couldn't figure out why. Turns out I bought a really cheap potentiometer and it ended up breaking, just breaking. And so it was, there was still a connection there, but it was running, it was reading a lot of resistance. And so I ended up cutting the potentiometer out and twisting the wires back together. So now there is no resistance in the coolant temperature sensor. You know, the thing that when cut defaults it into thinking it's negative 40 degrees. There's no resistance. So I was thinking, well now, because there's no resistance, it should go back up to running really lean, right? Because I'm giving it all this air and not enough fuel. This is a part that I can't explain, and this is why it's so important to tune your ECU. You can't just throw a turbo on something and tune it. I don't know what happened. Somehow, some way, the computer just does it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not running any resistance. There's no potentiometer. I'll show you that it's cut, and the computer, it runs perfect. It runs perfect most days. Sometimes during a cold start, it runs very rich, but it is a cold start. I don't know. That's all I got. I don't know. So, yeah, I can tell you right now, I could start this up right now, and I probably will to show you guys. I can start this up, and it'll run perfect. The AFR gauge, it may run a little rich, and which isn't good for fuel economy. I get about 21 mpg in this, which isn't the greatest. However, it's still better than most cars on the road, you know? So, yeah, there's that. I hope that makes sense. I hope all of that just made sense. Like I said, I have some footage. Maybe I'll throw it up on screen. Oh, there was one other thing now that I think about it. Sorry. The O2 sensor. There's an O2 sensor that goes into your exhaust manifold when you have just a regular exhaust manifold. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like. This just threads into your exhaust manifold. It's one wire. I ended up buying a new one, and I drilled a hole because my exhaust comes straight out of the hood there. I drilled a hole and put a bung in it, and then threaded in the new one, thinking that would solve all of my issues. It did not. Instead, it ended up running it even more rich. Like, so rich that it was it said error on the AFR gauge. It was reading like 8-to-1. Super rich, and I had no idea why. I could not drive it. It was so much fuel that it just could not get enough air unless you were wide open throttle. So I ended up undoing that, and it went back to running normal. So there's that. Are you guys noticing there's a trend here that you shouldn't do this unless you tune your ECU, unless you can tune your ECU? So there's that. That is everything that I have gone through with this car. This car still runs really well. Believe it or not, I don't know. I don't get it, right? I just pretend I work on cars. I don't actually know how they work. So, there's one more thing that I'm going to say, and that is there's a guy on YouTube named The Backyard Technician. He has a video called The Turbo S10 Experiment. I think it's the Turbo S10 Experiment stock computer. And he turboed one of his friend's 1995 S10. Keep in mind, that's OBD1. And he watched his video. I'm going to link it in the description. As soon as you're done watching my video, watch his video. Because he goes over so much more. I've never met this guy. I watched his video and I'm like, this dude's a genius. Watch his video. Again, the Turbo S10 Experiment stock computer by The Backyard Technician. Watch his video. I'm going to link it down below. He will be able to explain this a lot more than me. So, that's basically that. That is part 4 to turboing your S10. That's all I got for you guys. I would say the biggest thing is plugs. Check your plugs. I've heard that the fuel pressure regulator on the S10s stay 1-to-1 for every pound of boost you put into it. It raises the fuel pressure a pound. But I've also heard that's not true. So take that with a grain of salt. So yeah, there's that. So the final question is, would I recommend you turbo your 2.2 liter S10? The answer is yes, but only if you can tune it. Do not do what I did. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you have a 96 S10, I would recommend seeing if you can find a way to swap in a 98 ECU, maybe even use all the wiring harness. Basically use the guts from like a 98 on up and put it in the chassis of your S10. I think this is a lot of fun. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you could put in an LS for the amount of money that you put into turboing this." And I think that's a lie, because I am under $500 on this entire thing. The turbo was given to me, but that's like $100 turbo. So I'll say $600 on this. You can't even buy an LS for $600. Not to mention like motor mounts. Those are several $100s. Yeah, you can build your own, but like, right? So if you want to have fun, you don't care about going fast or anything like that, you just want to have a fun turbo 4-cylinder truck, yes, I highly recommend you do it. It's so fun, especially fabricating everything. It's a lot of fun. I really recommend it, but not if you can't tune the truck. That's the takeaway from this video. So, there's one more thing. The opening video you saw, that was my attention grabber, because I had a feeling not many people would stick around all the way to the end to watch the short film that I made. The short film there, that was done using a 5-pound spring. And really it's probably closer to like 3 pounds, but it was done using a really small spring. And so for the longest time, I have been wanting to put in the 8-pound spring, but my fear was if I blew it up, I'm screwed. I don't have another car to drive. Well, I recently purchased a 2014 Dodge Charger V8 all-wheel drive retired police interceptor. And so that's my new daily driver. I still drive this though, but now that I have the ability to swap in an 8-pound spring and not be scared of it blowing up, because if it blows up, I'm going to engine swap it, we can finally see what happens if you put an 8-pound spring in it. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in an 8-pound spring, and we'll drive it around a little bit, and we'll see if it can hold up to an 8-pound spring. Then I'm thinking, if this video gets 500 likes, right before I put it away for winter, I will put in the 14-pound spring and see what happens. I don't know, sounds kind of fun. I'm kind of scared though, because that'd be scary. So yeah, let's put in the 8-pound spring quick and see what happens. There's actually no quick to that. I might actually have to film this at a later date. But yeah, we'll put in the 8-pound spring and let's see what happens. Okay, so it's actually been a few days since that last clip where I was going to go and put the 8-pound spring in. And that's because I was busy. But here's the 5-pound spring that I had in here, right? And it's just like, it's really easy to compress. And then these are the 2 springs that came with the Wastegate. And this one, the smaller one, but the one that's also harder to compress, which makes me think it's the 14-pound one, right? Fits very nicely on this lip. You can see there's like a lip there. Fits very nicely, right? And then this one, which I think is the 8-pound spring, because it's easier to compress. Of course, when that lid is on, that's already going to be compressing it quite a bit. Anyway, fits very nicely inside that ridge. So I don't know which one to use. And that is not easy to compress. There's no way this is an 8-pound spring. I have no idea. I don't even remember where I got these from. I could try to look up the website and see if it tells me. Alright, I just looked it up and I actually found the exact wastegate that I bought, and the page, the Amazon thing was like, oh yeah, it comes pre-installed with the 8-pound spring, but I bought it with both of these. So I looked up the company, looked up the springs, and apparently the bigger one is the 14-pound spring and the smaller one is the 8-pound spring. And I guess that makes sense, because when that's down like that, it's gonna, it doesn't have to compress as far, but when this one is like really compressed, it's under a lot more tension, and it has to compress a lot more, like a lot more energy to compress that the rest of the way. I have no idea. If I'm being completely honest, I really don't know which one is which, but the company said this is the 8-pound spring. So that's the one that we're going to put in, but I just want to say, like, one finger and I can easily compress the 5-pound spring, which probably is only like 3 pounds, and the 8-pound spring, with one finger I can barely push it down, and then this one I can also barely push down. So I don't know, this is probably going to blow up, so that's cool. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, this is a moment of truth. I'm actually not going to be able to do this one-handed. So yeah, but I'm not lying to you guys. I really am putting the 8-pound spring in it. So I'm not going to like cut the camera and secretly put in the 5-pound spring. So yeah, we'll get this compressed and back together and see what happens. All right, moment of truth. Here's the 5-pound spring, so you guys know I'm not lying. Here's what I think might be the 14-pound spring. I don't think anything's gonna blow up when I start it, but you know. We're gonna let it warm up. It could totally be a placebo effect, but it sounds cooler. Alright, here we go. First test drive in what I really pray to God is an 8-pound spring. It's also running rough again, and I don't know. Probably because it's not tuned. We're just gonna nicely ease into it. I mean, I'm not really building any boost. My boost gauge doesn't work, so I don't know how many pounds of boost I'm making. I mean, I can plug it in, but it's not gonna. Oh, wait, it's working. No, it's not working. Yeah, it'll just randomly go click, 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 click. It'll just. Yeah, see, it's not working. It's a piece of crap. Don't buy that one. Again, I'm not in boost, so I don't really... Holy crap, I can hear the turbo a lot more. Hold on, let me roll up my window. Just a second. Alright, you guys won't be able to hear it because this road that I test on is really noisy, but I can really hear the turbo. Whoa, what the heck was that? Did I just blow this up? I'm so scared right now. I am so scared. The only difference I've known is it's running a lot more rich, and you can really hear the turbo whistle, which makes me think that when I was using this little dinky 5-pound spring, it probably wasn't making enough. It was making so much boost that it opened this up and it didn't let the turbo scream. So I'm not gonna go too crazy, but I'm gonna do a little pull. It's so loud! Oh my god, you guys hear that? I can hear that blowing off like crazy. I need an external mic. Oh, I have an external mic. Wow, this thing just screams. Listen to this. Oh my god, I hope you guys can hear that. Something smelled like it died, and I don't know if it's outside or if it's my car. I don't have any oil pressure. Well, I think that is it for the video. Yeah, man, I honestly don't know what to say. Obviously we put in the 8-pound spring. It is significantly faster. I can only imagine the 14-pound spring there, but I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to die. But yes, so it will take 8 pounds. Of course, I only tested it for like a half an hour, nothing more. But yeah, I'd say the overall takeaway from this video is you should 110% turbo your 2.2 liter S10 pickup truck, but don't do it unless you can tune it. And again, I think it's the 97s, but I really want to say the 98s on up is when you can start tuning it. I think they only recently, I think Mega Squirt is the name of the company, which is just the greatest name for an aftermarket ECU. I think they made it so you can tune on 97s. I don't know. You'll have to do your own research. The reason why I'm kind of like... Well, I think I've already talked about this. Keep in mind, this was a few days ago. But the reason I'm like, I don't really care what happens is because, see this lovely Pontiac right here? Do you notice how high it's sitting in the front? Yeah. Well, you come over here, and what's this? A supercharged V6? Yeah. This is going into the Corvair S10. And if this is something that interests you, make sure you drop a follow. Because even though, like I said, that's a Corvair, it's still an S10. So if you want to learn how to put a supercharged 3800 in an S10, make sure you drop a follow. Because this is happening probably not for a while. However, part 1, where I remove the engine and explain how this is going to work, is coming out very soon. So if you want to see all of this, you're going to have to subscribe, drop a follow, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm so excited for this. Oh my god. And it runs. It only has like 130,000 miles, but this engine runs like perfect. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This took very long to come out, almost about a year actually. Part 4 took about a year, but that's because I am working a lot of hours at my job and I just don't have time. But I really want to get back into the grind of posting more videos. I also recently picked this up. This is my new daily driver, so I have some cool videos on this coming. V8 all-wheel drive Dodge Charger retired police car. So thanks for watching. Please leave some comments if you have any questions. I'd love to answer the questions. And yeah, subscribe, like the video. Yeah, go out there, turbo your S10, your 2.2 liter S10. Have fun. Don't V8 swap it. Don't, in a world full of cookie cutter people, dare to be different. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.